Hello everyone, hope you're doing great. This is Maro. So today on the back of the World of Warships announcement that they will be taking some ships out, I wanted to take a closer look at some of the statements that they made in their release. So effectively what the World of Warships said today is that they will be taking out the Tier 10 British battleship Thunderer, Tier 10 European destroyer Smollett, American battleships Georgia and Massachusetts at Tier 9 and 8, and Tier 9 American cruiser Alaska. And the reason for their removal is the combination of their popularity and the performance, battle performance. So I was wondering, if the data would kind of confirm that. I mean, at the first sight, all of these ships are very good ships. So it's no surprise that maybe World of Warships would potentially think that they're doing better than the competition or the peers. But I was wondering if there is any data that would actually confirm that. So I thought to go to the Maple Serum World of Warships. It's a data site. It has a lot of kind of performance statistics on the ships. It's not comprehensive, but I was hoping that potentially directionally it would tell me, how true is this? So I just decided to do this for the Thunderer. And first I looked at the North American server and I looked at a couple of things. I looked at the number of players that played the ship in the most recent quarter. So that's the third quarter from end of June to end of September. Then I wanted to take a look at the number of battles that these players played with these ships and how does that compare to the other battleships in Tier 10. And after that, let me just actually go a step back. So that would be a kind of an indication of how popular the ships are amongst all the peers at Tier 10. And then the two other stats would be the win percentage and the average damage. And that would be an indicator of their combat effectiveness or combat performance, battle performance, I guess. So here's some of the data that I was able to gather. First is the North American server, third quarter, number of players. And here we can see that Thunder comes in fourth place. 13,398 players play the ship. And obviously on the North American server, Grosser Kurfürst, Montana, and Yamato came ahead, while Kremlin, Republic, and Conqueror are behind. So effectively, Thunderer is the only premium ship in the top 7 places. Ohio, Bourgogne, Slava, and Shikishima follow as the premium ships that are available either via steel or research points. So then the question was, well, what about the number of battles that these ships play? And again, the result is the same. Thunderer comes in at fourth place, Grosser Kurfürst, Montana, and Yamato lead the pack, Kremlin, Conqueror, and Republic are in the back, the other four premium ships closing the end. So just looking at the North American data so far would kind of support the World of Warships statement that Thunderer is a ship that's widely used in a large number of matches, and in comparison to any other premium 10 battleship, it's well ahead of its peers. Now, the other remaining ships are only available via steel or research points, and those are the two currencies that are harder to obtain. So it's not necessarily as easy as coal because the coal economics in the game have kind of really expanded. And I think as long as you select resource containers every day and you're able to collect the 3 containers, you have a very good shot at being able to get 1 or 2 coal ships a year including the coupons that World of Warships provides twice a year with, I think, 25% off. So now that the kind of wide usage is really supported, I wanted to see, well, how good are these ships? My impression from the ranked, my impression from, watching different tournaments that were streamed suggests that Thunder is pretty good because it appears to be very widely used. It does very well with its HE, with its AP. It's very precise. So given that it's so widely available, how well does she do? So here is the win percentage on the North American server first. And where is Thunderer? Thunderer is in 7th place, behind Conqueror. I mean, the difference is small. It's 50.13 versus 50.19%. But still, Thunderer doesn't do as well as Conqueror on the North American server. It does better than Grosser Kurfürst, Republik, Yamato, and Montana, but it's still behind Kremlin, which is the other Tech 3 ship, and then the four premium ships that are not easily available take over. So I have to say I was pretty surprised by that. My expectation was that the Thunderer would do much better. She's a ship that, it's highly talked about. It's a ship that's widely used in a lot of different competitions, from clans to COTS. And to see her just in the 7th place behind Conqueror, I think was quite surprising. So anyway, I wanted to also take a look at the damage and see how does she compare there. And here Thunderer comes in 4th, just behind Shikishima at 105,753, and ahead of Conqueror, by a hair, but still ahead. Ohio, with much higher winning percentage, is also behind, as are all the Tech 3 ships. So with that in mind, the issue is, well then, which one takes precedence? Is it the winning percentage or the damage? And I guess there are two schools of thought out there on these two topics. And my personal preference would be to go with winning because that's all that matters. And then that would really explain the disparity between the damage and the winning percentage. Because different ships will have a different role on the team and in the game. So a ship like Kremlin, which can tank a lot more, can really close in and push and sustain more damage. And even if it doesn't deal as much damage, will have a greater role on the game and win the team, help the team win. While in case of Thunderer, that's different. Thunderer doesn't have the same armor protection, it doesn't have the same health, it cannot really engage on the same level. Mostly it will stay in the back, it will snipe, it will use the higher accuracy of her guns to her advantage. Better HE, pretty good AP, and will not necessarily have the same impact on the game as Kremlin, but will be able to accrue more damage. Now, again, the question is also, well, what kind of damage is this? Is it more fire damage, which is easier for battleships and other ships to heal because it's 100%? Or is it more AP damage? And I guess if I had to guess, just based on this, I would probably think that in case of Thunderer, it would tend to be more HE damage. And in course of this game, I got the Witherer award, and I think was the Arsonist, and it just tells you that HE is so good, and the ships, it's very hard for them to withstand sustained bombardment. And while AP is good as well, when you have battleships or super heavy cruisers like Stalingrad pushing in, HE is a perfect weapon. So with that said, I also wanted to see how are the global stats for Thunderer, and are there any regional differences that potentially are not captured in the North American server data that would become clearer once I look across the different regions. So I gather the data, most of it is just in aggregate, But then when it came to winning percentages and damage, I weighted it by the number of battles. So if a region had, 20% of the battles, 20% of their winning percentage and average damage would be included in the number. So here are the results by the players first. So here the result is still the same. Thunderers in the fourth spot. Yamato, Gross Curfirst, and Montana lead the pack, and the Steel and Research Point ships round it. In terms of total battles, Thunderer is now in the third place, and solidly so, really. Only Yamato and Gross Curfirst had more battles in the third quarter. The rest of the Tech 3 ships follow, and then Steel and Research Point battleships in the back. So I think this really clearly supports World of Warships' stance. Thunderer is very prevalent in the tier 10 battles. In terms of battles, number 3, I mean, that was somewhat of a surprise, and even number 4. And I guess that may speak to the use of the ship, but it may also speak to the availability of the ship using the call currency. So now let's take a look at the effectiveness, global effectiveness of Thunderer by the win percentage and the average damage. So here again, the outcome is the same. Thunderer is in the 7th place, again behind Conqueror. The rest of the Tech 3 ships follow. Kremlin and Conqueror are ahead, so no change. However, when it comes to damage, the story changes. Thunderer is again in the 4th spot. So the trend is largely the same. There isn't really a big meaningful difference between the North American server and once you aggregate all the servers in terms of popularity of the ship, but also in terms of combat effectiveness. So I think with this data now, I can see why World of Warships would like to take Thunderer out and potentially replace her with another ship for call. Obviously, a lot of players have had a chance to get the ship, and also a lot of players play the ship regularly. So clearly, it was a very good concept, and it appears to have been executed well. And I think that's worth celebrating because looking at the new US Battleship line, that's clearly not an example of that. So well done here. I think in terms of combat effectiveness, I would maybe hold off on that because I don't necessarily think that she outperforms in any way or that she's overpowered. Clearly, the play style for the ship and what she's able to contribute to the team encourages higher damage, and we saw that average damage is high. And you could argue that would lead to the team winning. Whoever is able to do more damage wins. But obviously, there is a lot more to that. And the winning percentage on the ship is not as high. So, in terms of battle performance, it's fine. I would not argue that, it's not a good ship, but certainly not a ship that outperforms. Now, again, I don't necessarily think that that alone is enough to preclude the World of Warships from taking the ship, but I don't necessarily think that it fully covers, the reasoning. And now, some of the ships on this list may outperform. I know that Massachusetts, I think, was outperforming in terms of winning percentage. And I plan to actually look at these other ships as well, in kind of the same style, just to see how things compare. But I think when it comes to Thunderer, that's not necessarily the case. But with that said, I would definitely recommend um, gathering the call. I think you have perhaps 2 more months or so before the ship will be removed. And I think it's an interesting ship. I think it's a fun ship to play. I think it, expands on what Conqueror does, but I guess does it better. Now, I guess in the past you could have upgraded Conqueror to kind of get similar performance, and here now you have a dedicated ship with slightly different abilities, and I think that's good. I think having in the game more ships that are unique and provide a rewarding experience is definitely a plus. So if you can, please try and get the ship before she's gone. And that's it for me. I wish you all the best luck on the high seas. Maro, out.